this is the one we did in class in chapter 3. Now we're going to look into convolution. If we used Laplace transform for the convolution, it's going to be much easier. So this is what we did in chapter 3. You don't have to copy this down. So in chapter 3, what we did, we used convolution definition, doing convolution of this guy convolution with this. So we plug in the first signal here, and then the second signal we write as a t minus tau. We look at the definition, and this u of tau and u of t minus tau will give us lower bound and upper bound. Since the lower bound is 0, upper bound is t, lower bound is 5, upper bound is the t, we have this, and when you take the integral, we have this guy. So this is the one simple example we did, and we don't have, not much work, but if you have a more than just 2, and also if you have a 2 or more h of t, it's a completely different story and much more complicated than just going through that. Now, if you're using convolution definition from the Laplace transform, that's the definition of the convolution, right, in the t domain. Instead of actually applying in here, just find capital X of S and capital H of S, and then simply multiply together. That's it. So first we want to take the Laplace transform of X of t, and we know u of t minus 5 is the pair with e to the negative 5s shifting property, but we still have 1 over s there. So x of t is 1 over s minus 1 over s times e to the negative 5s because of this complex shifting property. So that's the capital X of s. And capital H of s is just 1 over s. So if we multiply X of s and H of s, and that is this, and when we take the inverse Laplace transform of this guy, that is tu of t minus t minus 5, u of t minus 5. That's it. That's the same answer that we actually use for the definition. But if you use this Laplace transform, it's much easier and faster. That's what I'm trying to show you here. And then there are some homework problems that you have to use this Laplace transform for the convolution. So it's a problem 7.24. Now, the response of LTI systems, and we call the numerator, for the numerator, we call as a zeros, and then denominator, we call poles. When we let numerator equals to 0, that is a 0. When we let denominator equals to 0, find the value of s, that is the pole. And it's just an introduction to response of the system. You will get to this in your control system much more. So let's take a look at this real quick. So your h of s, impulse response, is given as 2 times s plus 2 over s plus 1 times s plus 3. So if you plot these guys, for the numerator, okay, we said it's a zeros, and then denominator, we said poles. And for zeros, we use symbol for 0 type of empty circle, and then we use pole as x, and it 1, 2, 3. So negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. So negative 2 is a 0, and negative 1 and negative 3, those are the poles. That's it. In the control class, based on sketch of this pole and zeros, we should be able to identify this transfer function is stable or non-stable. The last item from chapter 7 is to find impulse response h of t with the given this system. And always starting from chapter 2, chapter 3, x is our input, y is our output, right? Drag form 1, drag form 2 diagram, we use y as output, x as an input. Same thing. So throughout this systems and signal, and same thing for our control class, x of t is the input, y of t is output, using Laplace transform. For the pair, we have Laplace transform of the prime is s times the capital S minus of 0, right? And if you have a double prime, we have s squared capital F, and then the rest is going to be lowercase f. Lowercase f is the initial conditions. 3 prime because we have a d cubed over dt cubed. So in the 3 primes, s cubed of f, capital F of s, minus s squared f of 0, minus s f prime of 0, and the last one always the prime of 0, no s. Hey, Dr. Kim, we don't have the triple prime in our equation sheet. What are we going to do? I mean, you don't have to worry too much about it because what I'm going to say here is the 0 initial condition, right? If the 0 initial condition, then what's going to happen? The first prime is s capital F of s, double prime is s squared capital F of s, and then triple prime is s cubed of capital F of s. So we don't have to worry about the rest. Then, so h of s is output over input, and then we're going to have the s of cube, because it's a third order differential equation, minus s squared plus 2, and then I factor out capital Y of s. And for this side, we have a 2s minus 6, and I factor out capital X of s. Then we want to find h of s, y, that is y over s over x of s. So if we find the y of s over x of s, we have this. And since we have s plus 1 times s squared minus 2s plus 2, now we are going to apply the partial fraction expansion with this format, and then when you cross multiply this, we have that, and we expand the numerator, we have this. That's a good question, I forgot to mention that. Calculator will give you -1 and the complex number. So when you see the -1, you can factor out s plus 1 from here, and then you get the rest. We have s cubed minus s squared plus 2. You have a calculator? So we have 1, -1, 0, 2, because there's no s term, 1 plus minus j. When you type this in your calculator, you have this. Now what we need to do, you have s cubed minus s squared plus t, 2, divided by s plus 1. So to fit it in here, we have s squared, then s cubed plus s squared, and subtract, we have 0, -2, s squared plus 2. And to get the -2s squared, we need to do -2s. Then -2s times s, -2s squared, -2s times 1, -2s. And we need to subtract, gone, plus 2s plus 2. Now we have plus 2, okay? So it's a polynomial division that you need to apply. Okay, so now for this numerator comparison, now we need to identify square terms. So when we look at the square terms, we have a plus b, and that should be equal to 0 because on the left-hand side, there is no square term. And then s terms, -2as plus bs plus cs, those are the s terms. So the coefficient for those, -2a plus b plus c has to be 2. And then the constant, 2a times 2a plus c equals to -6. So now we have 3 equations and 3 unknowns. Type into your simultaneous solver in your calculator. Then it's going to spit it out a, b, and c, something like that. So after we found a, b, and c, from the partial fraction expansion, we put those back into our h of s expression. Then we have that. And again, this s squared minus 2s plus 2, that is the complex number root. So we cannot factor those out. Yeah, for that s squared term for this, s to the power of term for this, s to the 0 for this. So s squared term, this guy is a plus b, and then s1 is this s, those are the 3 terms with the s. 2 because we have a 2 right there. We're comparing left-hand side and the right-hand side. So we're comparing this guy, this whole thing, with this whole thing. They have to be equal because we have a same denominator. We're good? And the constant term, the 2a plus c, that is the negative 6. Because originally we have a 2s minus 6. That's the constant term. Since we need to do the complete square for the second term of the denominator, what I'm going to do, I'm going to do s plus 1 plus. I'm going to have s squared minus 2s plus 1. This will give us s minus 1 squared. Since I add 1, I'm going to subtract 1. And we had 2 before. And for the numerator, we still have the same. For the second term, s minus 1 squared plus 1. And the numerator, I'm going to factor out 8 over 5, then s minus 1. And since I subtract 8 over 5, so I'm going to add 8 over 5 minus 14 over 5, so that they are equal. Why s minus 1? Because in order to apply the shifting property, we have to have s minus 1 numerator, then we have to have s minus 1 at the denominator. Vice versa. Since we have s minus 1 squared at the denominator, we have to have s minus 1 numerator. Yes. For this one, second one, we're trying to see for the sine and cosine. That's why. The first term, this guy is going to be e to the negative t, isn't it? But so this one is easy, so we don't have to worry about it. E to the negative t times this, that's the answer in the t domain when you take the inverse Laplace transform. However, for this, we have to use sine and cosine. We had one example last time in case 3. So it's exactly the same thing in the case 3, where we have a cosine, we have to have s minus 1 numerator, and then s minus 1 squared the denominator. This portion is the same, and then plus, we have 8 over 5 s minus 1, and then minus, this is 6 over 5, and s minus 1 squared plus 1. And I'm going to separate these two terms. That is, we have s minus 1 squared plus 1, and then minus s minus 1 squared plus 1. For second term is 6 over 5. The first term, 8 over 5. S minus 1. Now we know this is cosine kt, that is paired with what? S squared plus k squared, and then numerator should be s. And then cosine kt, that is paired with s squared plus k squared, and then numerator is k, just constant. This should be sine kt and the cosine kt. Then our h of s equals negative 8 over 5 times 1 over s plus 1 plus 8 over 5 times s minus 1 over s minus 1 squared plus 1 squared minus 6 over 5 s minus 1 squared plus 1 squared, numerator of 1. If you take the inverse Laplace transform, h of t equals negative 8 over 5. This is e to the negative t plus 8 over 5. If you ignore minus 1, then it is cosine. And what's the value of k? 1. And the shifting e to the positive t minus 6 over 5 times sine t e to the positive t. So that's our answer. So the one last item, there's a way to check for causality, stability, and invertibility for the impulse response. So you can take a look at it. So it's just a reading material. Okay.